mouth and say, I need a credit card, right? You all should just like unmic. We've never done some of the fun stuff I'm going to do this time. We haven't done, like, I'm going to do a lot of hot seats with you guys. I need to get you rocking and rolling, making money. So all of you should just unmute and say, hi, like, give me your credit card. Just say it out loud, right? Give me your credit card. I need your credit card. Which credit card? Like, come on, like, let's hear it live.
Give me your credit card.
Give me your credit card.
Give me your credit card.
Would you like to use?
Give me your credit card with a $10,000 credit limit.
Give me a 10,000.
Give me your
And a lot of you get this weird energy about it, like, oh my God, you get this sales tension, like, oh my God, I'm gonna ask for a credit card. Yeah, you know what? Okay, maybe it's not a credit card, maybe it's your Venmo, maybe it's your Cash App, maybe you're in Canada, you actually the ease of e-transferring, but you're gonna have to ask for the money if you're gonna make some money. So the reason this slide is up here is because our collective genius has a lot of knowledge. And we're not giving you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed. We do have licensed people on our team. When you get there, you can meet them. But I had to put this up because some people say, oh, I listened to Loral and I did what she said and I lost money. Well, that went the wrong direction and something you did screwed it up, not my advice screwed it up. All right, so let's jam. The next slide I love. I don't even remember who sent it to me. I think my brother might have sent it to me. Go ahead and move to the next slide, Steve. I love this one. Well, and I love lions and eagles. Steve, are you out there? Click, my friend. And also whoever's running the admission, we've had some admits on the top of the screen. Make sure you guys are putting people into the room on a regular basis. All right, so the other thing we have done live, Steve, are you out there? We have gone live on social channels. And we're only going to be out here for a moment. So if you're listening on any of the social channels, and Steve, if you want to lean right over to me, and I know there's LinkedIn Live, let's go live everywhere. We're going to do this just for a showcase of this marketplace. We're going to stay live for a moment or two once I get through the history of money. Those of you that are watching live, you can call our office at 775-588-9200 if you want to continue this conversation about money. Here's the thing about money, and I love, love, love this slide. Of course, it's a struggle. Like, for you to think you're just going to Pollyanna walk through life and it's never going to be a struggle, you are out of your mind. The more here's, and it's actually, I think, a biblical saying, is if you're not responsible for the little bit you have, you're not going to get responsible for more. Like, more money, more profit, more revenue, more assets isn't going to get you more responsible with your financial decisions. Education is. And so there's this weird thing that happens with money in the struggle of it, I'm going to call. And I'm not calling, I don't identify struggle as a negative word, right, at all. I think struggle is, in a positive spin, it's the wrestling with. It's the negotiating with. Eileen is probably like my favorite client because we have, and everyone in the community knows, very verbally wrestled with each other. I mean, there were times where she, wanted to quit and wanted her money back. And I'm like, yeah, right. That's going to happen. That's not going to happen. What I'm doing is right. What you're doing is odd. So you need to shape up. I mean, it's the same thing that Bob Proctor fired me when I first started with him, because I didn't behave either. And I had paid him $25,000. And we got into this little struggle. And he just said, until you can actually shape up and do what I'm asking you to do, you're your problem. And I was so pissed off at him that he, and then I did everything everybody else says. Well, I want my money back. I want a refund. I did all that kind of crap. Couldn't get it to save my life. And thank God I love the lesson. And I do it to my clients. Get one, because I'm not the problem. Our work's not the problem. Your issues, your mentality, the way you behave, you're letting outside influences. Here's what we call outside influence. They're called your family and friends. Your family and friends are sometimes the worst support you could put around you with money, because they don't know either. And then you're all just in opinion land. Well, oh my gosh, like, if people knew you were here today listening to this and wanting to be a millionaire and raise your hand to be a millionaire, how many of you in the chat, your family and friends would say you're crazy? They wouldn't support you. They kind of be like, you can't do that. They would say, you can't do that. Why are you hiring a mentor? I mean, we should just collaborate together. If you want to go buy real estate or whatever we're going to be working on, and I'm going to, coach you into a big launch, and you're going to have like a $20,000 or $50,000 ticket or whatever you're going to do. Your family or friends, these support people, they're really your worst enemy. And what are they scared of? You know what they're scared of is because it's actually like with health behavior. And a lot of you are in the health industry. And I have a master's in exercise physiology. I built fitness centers on offshore rigs. So I get it. Health and wealth have very similar commonalities. People want to get healthier and they want to get wealthier. But if you're out and you're with a group of people and your friends and family are a little bit overweight or not healthy or smoke or do whatever bad behavior and health they do, I mean, typically, if you kind of, skyrocket out of that and say, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, or my God, I grew up on a farm in Nebraska. Can you imagine? There was a period during my college experience where I went vegan. Oh my God, are you kidding? Like being a rodeo queen from Nebraska and growing and showing beef and pork and sheep. Are you kidding? My family about disowned me. Like, you're not going to eat meat, the very shit we raise on our farm that made you who you like. Oh my God. It was like, so my point is, when you want to traverse out, so you say, I want to go become a millionaire, you're going to get berated. You can't do that. You can't do that. So your people are not who you can listen to. You've got to lean in, call us your financial family, and you only ask us questions. Unless somebody has more experience than you, even in little stuff. Like when your kid turns 16, should you put fleet insurance into your company or should you get them their own insurance policy? Like every decision you make during the day, think about it. It has a financial impact. How do you get health insurance? It drives me crazy when those of you that have jobs won't quit your damn job because you can't afford health insurance. Oh my God, really? You might as well just stay in your job. Like there are so many ways we're going to teach you how to have everything you want. I have everything I want, right? I'm not an anomaly out here that's just, you can't do it too. I mean, Thomas has young kids. Steve has young kids. Eileen just got married. I've been divorced. They're probably one of the most expensive divorces. I mean, we've all been through everything. Guess what? It's called life. But guess what surrounds life? Money. And you have to make it important. It's not the most, I would say it's the most impactful thing. It's not the most important thing. But if you're going to walk around blindly and think your friends and family are going to be your go-to with money, you're crazy. And if you wonder why you're in a bad pattern, it's just your friends and family. And for some of you out there, because I've gotten to know you, it's your partner. And they're wrong and they're scared and they're holding you back. And I love getting in the middle of partnerships and helping clean them up. And sometimes you go your separate ways because it wasn't meant to be. When it really comes to the seriousness of a healthy relationship, I have this saying, it says, design your divorce while you're in love. So the first thing you do in a business relationship is you design your operating agreement. And you design your banking rules, your expense rules, your profit rules. If you don't know how to do any of that, you haven't even begun to have a great relationship, right? So you have to let us help you clean some of this stuff up. And we'd have no judgment about it. None. If you're bankrupt, you've been in foreclosure, you can't afford it. I really don't care. Like, I shouldn't say I don't care. I care a lot. I mean, I don't have a judgment about it. None of us do. We're here to totally support you. Take on your lovely thing that you did to yourself with money. Yeah, tons of credit card debt. You know what tells me if you have a lot of credit card debt? If you have a lot of credit card debt, it tells me you want to live a big life. That's what credit card debt is. Now, part of you might be irresponsible in wanting to live the big life. But here's really, if you think how, again, we're the how people. Like I'm known for that real nitty gritty. Somebody called me a grit. Like I really get to the grit. If you really think about why you have bad debt, it's because you wanted a big life. But here's the real problem. You didn't know how to make money. So you outlived your ability to make money and you put the rest of the life you want on a credit card. Would that be fair? Put in the yes if that was you some point in your life, right? So then the challenge, because you listen to Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey or Dave Bach, and they're wrong, by the way, is they'll say, well, you live beyond your means. Oh, bullshit. Have as many means as you want. That's totally the wrong answer. The real problem we have to solve is let's learn to make money. When you learn to make money, we're going to and believe me, you're going to have the basics this morning and the detail by 2 to 4 o'clock. And you will totally know how to make money. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier than I thought. I cannot wait for the easy to come across that chat screen. It's just different. It's just different. But we're not taught to make money. We're taught that money comes from a job. We're not taught to ask for money other than our parents. So you have no skill set to do it. Right. So the only reason, again, you're in bad debt is because you don't know how to make enough money. And when I teach you how to make money, I mean, I don't even care if you have there's months where my credit cards, collective credit cards will be over $100,000. I don't freak out and say, oh my God, I can't afford it because I'm in credit card debt. That's easy, free money. As long as you pay it off every month, like, why not use it? I get 4 times the points. I have, millions of American Express points. I got Capital One points. Why not? I love using my credit cards and I have better credit because of it. Eileen will teach you more of that. So again, I don't care if you're in bad debt. We have no judgment about it. And in fact, awesome. You're actually easier to fix than somebody who has no debt, because somebody who has no debt's stuck because they actually don't want a big life. They live right within the box of their ability to create money. And then I'm like, well, how about more? So if you have bad debt, good. I really don't care. It actually makes you a more open person. So the memo here is just don't quit. You might get in a struggle. It's easy to, like, tomorrow morning say, what I really learned yesterday, it's the weekend. I want a 4-day weekend and not come back tomorrow. We know there's a weekend. We knew when we put this together. I need you here, right? I need you here and I need you learning. And then you take all of our learning into your weekend and continue making money over the weekend. All right. So yes, is it Dina? There's a huge integrity and responsibility to money. And a lot of you don't understand credit and credit cards. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Go to the next slide, Steve. We're going to click through a few of these and get to the real big one. Again, the system wasn't broke. It was built this way. 1933, 7 of the wealthiest families went to Jekyll Island, just off the coast of Georgia, and designed the financial system as we know it today. Steve, can you have whoever's looking at the admittance of the room? I keep getting, and maybe it's just on my screen, but if that's happening.
Yep, we're actively reaching out to them to find out who they are and then getting them in.
Okay, thank you. So these families, right? And they're the families, the Rockefeller family, the Roosevelt family, right? JP Morgan family, Carnegie, anyway, they went and designed the financial system, which then also during the industrial age designed the school system. Let's put everybody into school so they can become an occupation, and away we go. And here we are. So it's designed that way. And it's interesting. I'm going to expand more as we head to another slide. I want to show you though, the next slide, which is the Millionaire Matrix. And this is one that I would go to a link. I'll share the link in a moment. Thomas can put it in. He already put it in before. He'll put it in again. But we actually have a resource link. For those of you that are on social listening to it, Thomas, you want to repeat it out loud? I don't have it right in front of me.
Yep, it's askloral.com/
Wait. Don't say it out loud if we're live, because it has other options to get on this event. So those of you that are live, we're going to put it in the chat for you. Everybody else listening on social, you have to call the office.
The importance of team, folks.
Thank you. Saved us. Okay. So I study million, but this is a fun one to screenshot, color print it and put it on your wall. If you're serious about being a millionaire, you need to embed this, not in just a visual cue, but in a behavioral cue. Right. So what does it take to become a millionaire? I've studied millionaires since I was 17 when I got the book Think and Grow Rich. What does it take? How do they invest? There's got to be a pattern. Why are so few people not millionaires? It's not difficult. It's just different. And when you're living counter to what you're being told, it gets more difficult, right? It gets more difficult. It's just different, right? So you're going to have to pave your own way, which is why we love being your financial family. You're going to come back here. A lot of our, especially our big mentoring, the big table, we don't put an expiration date. We put lifetime on it. And people say, well, what's going to happen when you're passed? We have a legacy plan. This thing's not going to fall down and die. It's going to continue as long as your kids come up and want to be part of it and you encourage them. Some families, unless their kid goes into our big table and goes through our education, do not get in the trust. I literally know 7 families that our learning, working with me specifically, is part of their trust mandate. They have to learn about money or they cannot have the inheritance. That's how serious we take money. Some of you say, oh, this is light. And especially, and I'm not going to pick on Clubhouse, but it's a very, collaborative chatting thing out there, which is fabulous. But guess what? We're not going to collaborate until you know money. Because all that's going to mean is I'm going to do all the work in the money side. You say, well, that's what we're having. No, I have grown hundreds of companies, thousands of real estate transactions. It's not follow on our team's coattails. It's you're going to stand up on your own right to become a partner, which means we're going to teach you first. We're going to start with how are you making money? And there's qualities of money. See, those of you, and I want you to put in the chat, how many of you have had in your lifetime, this is a brand new question I've never asked. And when the more I teach, the more things come to me. So this is a fun question. How many of you in your lifetime, more money has been made as an employee or has more money made as an entrepreneur? right? So like when I worked for Chevron, I collectively made over $1 million because I had a really big salary and I went to the sexiest places in the world, like Angola, Africa, and Kazakhstan. So I would get $50,000 like safety bonuses for entering the country as a woman. So I made over $1 million just as an employee in one place, right? But now I've made hundreds of millions as an entrepreneur, hundreds and hundreds of millions, probably $1 billion if you add it all up, well into the billions. But it's interesting to see where your money's come from. How have you made it in the past? All right, so perfect. So you kind of know. It's just an interesting data point. We're not going to do much with it. It's sort of interesting. Our goal is to teach you how to make the majority of your money as an entrepreneur. So if you look in that little category, which I want you to print this off, it's, all the things we're going to talk about and coach about and learn about is cash flow, marketing, sales, customers, products, services, funnels, pricing. I mean, all those things are business development, right? Then as you're making the money, we have to keep it, right? So entities, trust, qualified plans, identity protection. My son's in the summer school right now. He's getting a finance management and accounting degree. He called me over the weekend and said, Mom, I need to make some more money over the summer. He said, what do you have for me to do? And so he's actually doing taxes for a lot of people because he's great at just filing simple tax returns. He's only 21, but he's still doing the basics. And then and he's going back through my identity protection. I just remember that was one of the things I gave him to do. I said, I need you to reset it for him and I. And there's a whole structure to how do you set that so that doesn't happen to you in your life. That is hell if it happens to you in your life. All these things are important. Look at all those things in that little box. Then the big one, the one that categorically will make you a millionaire fast. My fastest millionaire is 142 days. I'd love somebody to beat it. And we're in the most volatile economy that it could happen. And I'm not counting Bitcoin on paper millionaires. I'm not counting that, right? Unless you are highly transacting inside digital currency where like a Jim Blasco, how to buy a Lamborghini and a house and actually buy all his groceries and buy lifestyle. You can do it. I mean, it's already, I know people who are living that. We have some clients living that way who are completely living through digital currency. They count. But if you're just like a little Coinbase person and investing here and there, and just because you bought at 5 and it went to 50, I'm not counting that because you're not transacting it in your life. So how do you make it? How do you keep it? How do you invest it? Investing is our wheelhouse. You'll see that tonight, Zapter hour, 7:15. I don't care what you're doing. I need you to move it. It is the most revolutionary, eye-opening conversation you're going to hear from a lot of the folks that have become multimillionaires. Some of them came to me as a millionaire. Now they're multimillionaires. They came in one asset class. John, you'll meet him. He's in 15. Cow, my partner, Air Force fighter pilot, trainer, lieutenant colonel, was in 2 asset classes, is on in at least a dozen now. So investing is how you're going to make millions, and going into good debt is how you're going to make millions. So tonight, absolutely critical, not this events conversation, clearly our conversation. And then how do you do a team, which is why I put together and we changed our name and brand really to Integrated Wealth Systems, because we're an integrated team. So let's go to the next slide and talk about why everybody's so tangled up with money. All right. So go ahead and let's move to the next slide. I'm just going to see what y'all got out here. Thomas, I'm going to let you keep the chats active. So if there's anything critical, I want to stay very on top of what we're doing. So just read them off if there's something critical and a question comes up. So Steve, go ahead and put up the W-2 income. Those of you, I saw there's some Canadians out there. Also Alberta, go Alberta, Canada. I was married in Banff, Canada. My husband was born in Winnipeg, did his adult life in Calgary, Alberta. Love Canada. I call myself a Canarican. So I highly know your financial systems, believe me, and they are all restrictive compared to the United States, which was why we're fighting so hard for what we have to keep it, because you only have several corporate structures and several, you'll see as we put this up, the distinctions. And again, we've taught it all over the world. The difference where you live in the world depends on your country and your state, and really down to your county laws and what you can and can't do. So again, I didn't stay in Nebraska. I've traveled all over the world, and I landed in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. I still live in Northern Nevada. I love it here. I know, I will have a family legacy forever. Why? Because we love that mountain 20 minutes away that we can just jump on skis and ski, 5 months of the year. Love skiing. Love being outside. So here's why we're all screwed up. We're taught in 1933 when the education system came along, and yes, it does need some fixing, but unfortunately, with the teacher unions and all of the institutional stuff that's been anchored into some industries. And it's not just teachers. The gaming industry's got unions, worker unions, and I'm not picking on unions per se, but when you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got to have total freedom to move. Like you got to roll up your sleeves and say, where am I and my family going to live? So I have the most benefit and choices for me and my family. And some of you, you're living where you live because you have inherited behaviors. You actually have not decided to pick up and live where you want or where it's tax beneficial to you. You haven't decided to live in a land, you want to be a real estate person, but you're living in California. California could not be New York. Horrible landlord laws, horrible places to live if you want to be in real estate, right? And what's potentially being challenged right now is like you can't be an intense real estate investor and agree with what's going on in Washington right now. You just can't. It'd be so out of integrity. We need 1031 exchanges. We need to be able to move our properties. We need what's going on. So a lot of you are going to get some, distinctions about money. But here's the deal. Canadians, Australians, I don't care if you're in Dubai, you can have a company in the United States, and we can have companies in your countries. I've had companies all over the world. I've had trusts all over the world. If you're looking for, believe it or not, the lowest tax basis in the world for corporations, it's Ireland. Now, you can live in Puerto Rico and have some zero, like personal, and there's some islands that do some very interesting international. But if you want to be live with product and service, guess where Google headquarters, guess where Amazon headquarters. If you've ever flown into Dublin, welcome to the tech company corporate headquarters, 12% flat corporate tax. So we love Ireland. So all of that being said, here's the problem, right? W-2 income, which is employee income. And we're going to talk about qualities of income. That's why I asked you earlier how you make your money. Because if most of your money was made as an entrepreneur, you have way more benefits than if it was made as an employee, which is weird because a lot of people say, I got to keep my job because I had to keep security. It's the worst thing you could do because it's the worst kind of money. Why? Because it's taxed. Now in America, if you make 80,000 or more, you're in the top 25% of income earners. Now that's a startling number, a 2021 number. If you're in Canada, it's 169,000 and you're the top 25% of income earners. Like, I don't know how many you're out there that make more than 80. How many of you make more than $80,000 in collective income? And you feel like, let's just say yes, if you do. Okay, yes or no, right? Do you make more than 80 grand? Right? And then here's the big, do you feel like you're like in the top 25%? Like, yay, I'm like at the high income earners. Like you're not. It doesn't feel like that. Why? Because you're taxed to pieces. In America, it's 40, 50%. In Canada, it's 50 to 60%. You say, well, how come they get taxed more? Because they have free healthcare. It's not free, it's taxed. Same with Norway and Denmark and Sweden. A lot of the socialists or kind of moderate socialized nations who provide free healthcare or free services, they take it out of your taxes, folks. It's not free. So wake up, get educated, and understand what you're actually talking about and voting about. So when you make money, you get taxed right out of your paycheck. That's why the quality of money is more challenging for you, right? Especially challenging to become a millionaire. It's usually a fixed cap W-2 income, and then you're taxed. Then you get to live on what's left. Kiyosaki said it brilliantly in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. You make it, you're taxed, you spend it. Versus an entrepreneur, you make it, you get deductions, you spend, tax. So you decide where you want your tax to be based. I want it at the end of the road, right? So then when you're employed, you get this opportunity to give money back to the same company that gave you your paycheck called the 401k. What a crazy way to invest. Ridiculous way to invest, by the way. And then you go on a vacation because you were rewarded because you're good. And then you're taught that debt and credit cards are bad. Good debt's critical for your life. Credit is critical for your life, which means you got to use credit cards. So totally wrong advice. Retirement isn't even a financial word. It's an agricultural word that means to put cattle to pasture to die. You're not cows, you're not dying. So we don't even use that word. I mean, we'll use it in a few contexts to help you understand, but we don't like that word. And then you're taught that if you pay tax on April 15th, good for you. So that is not how we make millionaires. So go ahead and put up the next slide. And then we're going to bring on some experts to really reinforce how critical how you make money happens to you. And I'm not saying quit your job. That is not the message. The message is if you have a job, you have to become an entrepreneur. You have to have a side hustle. You've got to have a business. Ideally, we'd like your business to become the bigger thing, and you actually atrophy your job away, right? Because you're going to make money in your company. The way millionaires get made is you don't make the money, your company makes the money. In America, they're called S Corp, C Corps, LLCs, limited partnerships, trusts. In Canada, they're numbered companies, they're corporations, you can have a trust, you can have a partnership. So around the world, they're just called different things. The reason why America has the greatest benefit is because it has so many choices for you. And in America, you have 81,000 pages of tax code. In Canada, it's about 3,500 pages of tax code, very different taxation structure. So here's what I want you to write down, and I want you to make a billboard across your room in your office. Companies make money, individuals get taxed. There's no easier way that I teach it, right? Your company's going to make the money, not you, right? You aren't going to make that much money. Like, I am employed from one of my companies, and I make a little bit of money, and we have a whole formula to how you pay yourself. And it's not just because what you need, there's a strategy to how to pay yourself, which then allows you to get good health insurance. I have great health insurance and really full coverage health insurance. And guess what? It's under $400 a month for 3 of us. How about that for a wake-up call? And you're not going to quit your job because you can't find health insurance. How your money's coming to your life is wrong. Right? And we're going to teach you how to fix that. Now, all these fixes come with an advanced coaching. And you say, well, that's like a bait and switch. No, it's not. We promised you to make you money here, and that's our intention, and we will do that. I'm giving you this context to say, we know what we're doing in a bigger conversation. For those of you who want a bigger conversation and want us on speed dial, want my cell phone on speed dial for any money conversation at any time, that's the next level. And we want you to be with us. We want teammates. If you actually provide a great product and service and you're in our community, I'll refer to you all day before I refer to just some random stranger that I met on the social channel. No way. Why would I give business outside of this community? You're my client. I want you to win. I want you to have the money. We work with each other collectively all the time and buy and sell each other services because we need them. Solo 401ks, guess what? That's a kind of retirement, a later life plan, solo 401k, where you can put money in that your company owns. So if you have an S Corp, your S Corp can have its own 401k plan, a solo 401k, better a Roth. All right. And then you're never going to go on a vacation. You're going to go on business trips. Debt and credit cards in the old model that you were taught are bad. We're going to tell you they are critical to your life. And you're never going to retire in our world. You're going to have freedom. Because the other thing I don't like about the word retirement is an age association to it. Like you have to be old to be rich. No, you can be rich however and whenever you want. And then, by the way, in America, we don't file taxes April. All of our millionaires, multimillionaires, and on the way to becoming millionaires, you're going to file taxes in September and October. So if you already filed for 2020, mistake, should have waited, kept all your money. And you say, well, I needed a refund. My answer would be, why did you ever pay in the first place? I don't get refunds, right? I wait to the final hour, and then I pay the little bit that I'm owed. You say, well, you're avoiding the system, evading the system. No, I'm not. I got extraordinary strategy. And by the way, we live right in between 81,000 pages of tax code. So if you have H&R Block or TurboTax, or you're doing your own taxes, never again. Not if you want to be a millionaire and you want to live within the total code and what's available to you. Like, you know, my son Logan's 21 was doing some of his coach's taxes, and they don't have kids and they weren't doing deductions and they don't have an entity, but they actually do some personal training or something on the side. And he's like, you know, I never thought I'd quote my mom. He said, but you should get some kids, they're tax deductible. So my son's starting to talk about some of these, deductions and benefits that all of you need. So again, companies make money, individuals get taxed. So I want to bring Eileen on. Actually, I'll bring you on next. Come back in a minute. Scott, are you out there to talk about corporate structure and how critical it is that as we start you making money, and I had my first corporations when I was 21 years old. When my son was 18, he got one. And actually last night he's becoming a pilot. Well, he already is, and he took a big break, so he's going to have to re-up it. We still have the company that owned our plane, and he's now going to take over that corporation. And then as he becomes a pilot, take that. That's a 17-year-old company. Do you know the kind of credit he can get? Well, I already know, because we've already applied for SBA loans, and we already got over $100,000 is just free money. So money is available and it's everywhere. Is Scott out there with us right now?
I am. How are you?
I'm good. And welcome to our marketplace. Welcome to this amazing room of new people. Just reinforce the corporate structure and what your job on the team is. And Scott, it does all that paperwork, all your corporate minutes. So if you're in the chat, just so Scott can kind of speak to how many people, how many of you already have an LLC, an S Corp, if you're in Canada, a numbered company, how many of you are already incorporated? Just say yes, or actually like some Dana just put in S Corp. What do you all have? So then also speak to Scott, like the cleanup and the corporate compliance. So speak to both. I'll give you some time here.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so, people ask me all the time, why would we want to form a corporation or an LLC? I've heard from my accountant that I don't need to put it in place until I'm making a certain dollar amount. But really, the first thing about putting an entity in place is about liability protection. You have personal assets, you want to go out and you want to, invest or start a business. You don't want those personal assets to be affected by the liability of the business. What's funny is that I actually saw Damon John put a post out this morning talking about the very first step in putting your business out there is getting the corporation or the LLC set up to separate yourself out from risk and also separate yourself personally out from the debt of the business. So, that's one of the first things about why we use corporations and LLCs. Secondary, Loral talked about the 81,000 pages of tax deductions. Well, what that equates to, if you're a sole proprietor, you get about 15 to 30 different deductions on a Schedule C. Sole proprietor, bad, because again, you're assuming the liability of the business, you get limited tax deductions, so it's fully exposed. So when we're talking about corporations, LLCs, S Corps, things like that, they're afforded upward of 233 to 305 different corporate write-offs. So again, allowing you, as Loral said, more use of your money up front, which ultimately results in paying a lot less in taxes on the back end. Now, the other reason why building a company is if you're looking to create generational wealth or build a business or an investment to be able to pass that estate on to your beneficiaries, if we don't have any entity structures, see, the old saying with corporations and LLCs is corporations never die, they just get a new president. So if you're operating your business as a sole proprietor and you pass away, essentially, your family's left to either figure out how to operate that business and or the business is going to go away. So that's one of the primary things, and I'm sure Eileen's going to touch on this here in a little bit, but when you have corporate structures, see, we all have a personal credit score, but corporations and LLCs have the ability to build credit themselves. So if you have one or two or three entities, that not only double or triples or quadruples the borrowing ability. And I'm not going to go too far into that because that's Eileen's lane. But as Loral had talked about, asked who in the room has an LLC or corporation. What I want to address is compliance. One of the biggest myths out there and one of the biggest selling features of corporation or LLCs is you don't have to maintain minutes and resolutions. Anybody telling you that is absolutely misinforming you. The state may not require that you keep minutes and resolutions. However, if you're ever drawn into an audit, into a lawsuit, contract dispute, what have you, the very first intent of a litigator, a prosecutor, or even a revenue agent is to determine what's called the alter ego theory, meaning you're not treating it as a separate company, why should we? So if you're not maintaining minutes and resolutions within your LLC, documenting things like when you get company credit cards, when you borrow money, when you buy real estate, things like that. In 24 years of doing this, we've identified there to be about 156 different types of formalities in corporations and LLCs. The reason for this is a corporation or an LLC is an artificial person created by law. It has the ability to do anything you want it to do, but think and speak for itself. So in order for it to not only defend you, its principle, and to protect your personal assets, it needs a voice and a thought process put in place. That's what minutes and resolutions are, and they are required by law. Now, if you have an entity that's been in place, whether it's a year, 10 years, what have you, there is the opportunity of doing what's called reconstruction based upon recollection. Now, we're not backdating records. Backdating records is 100% illegal. However, if we reconstruct based upon recollection, that is 100% permissible in the courts, in the federal government, and the like. So again, this is how I help. This is what I bring to the community. Loral, you and I have known each other for what, over 2 decades now. And so that's how I help this community, is to identify if you have the right entity structure. If you do, let's make sure that we've got a solid foundation or launch pad in which to build your infrastructure.
Well, and one of the things that are critical for those of you, because there's a lot of you did say you have an entity, if you did it on your own, and I saw one of the women say that she just started one yesterday, if you didn't get it formally set, like hold up a corporate binder, Scott. So for example, Scott and I now offer family living trusts. We have a new company, Generational Wealth Strategies, right next to what we do. And go ahead and hold that up again. So notice if you went to one of those cheap places, or you just went to the state, which we get, a lot of people do, I would pay extra to Scott to get that binder, because inside that binder are your share certificates, your actual corporate seal, your articles of incorporation, your operating agreement. So one of the first things Scott and I did when we said we're going to form this company is we talked about our partnership, right? I mean, how, what percent we each get, how we're going to work together, how we have a divorce. I mean, right, we have another agenda to actually, sell it to my son and his little entourage of, financial guys coming behind us, which, by the way, there's your big hint to how this thing's going to stay, generational. But like we just don't tell you this, we do this, right? And Scott, I don't even know how many thousands of pages have you cleaned up. Like when this is how a lot of people have relationships, right? So Scott and I knew each other, we did business together, and then, you kind of do this, you come and go. We are very, very tight, and now legally very bound to, companies together. But during those years when you were away, finding somebody who will just do your corporate minute cleanup is hell. Like, good luck finding somebody out there. So Scott has a flat rate to do it all, cleans it all up for you, organizes all your shit you did to yourself. And believe me, mine wasn't perfect. I didn't document every shareholder meeting when I flew to Georgia to see my son, or he flew back out here. And I have so many companies. How many thousands? I bet you're on what, like 3,700 pages? I mean, I know at one point it was like 3,200.
I would say between all the companies, close to about 32 to 3,500 pages.
A corporate cleanup, meaning documenting everything. Like if you decide to change, phone services, health insurance, all that stuff has to be documented. And we're not saying that to freak you out and say, oh my gosh, it's so scary to do what she's saying. No, it's just different. And you aren't going to do the work. So some of you, we're going to stop doing all the work because you aren't the expert. Your focus is to make money and hire the team. So with that, Scott, stay there. The other thing that I want all of you and Eileen to just, give some reinforcement to this is, if you're just a W-2 person, you don't have a legal right to write off this, to be here in the room. Let's just say you do some simple extra coaching, $399. Maybe you do a $5,000. We have an income accelerator for $5,000. I mean, it's a 90-day program to get you to a $10,000 month. Like, cannot be simpler to do that for $5,000. I mean, come on, people. Like, it's so easy. But that's tax deductible. Your computer's tax deductible. Your car's tax deductible. A part of your home office is tax deductible. If you're just an employee, you don't get all those legal deductions, right? So one of the things we're going to offer you as you get closer to us and in our community, we're going to do a tax return review. We're going to go back 3 years, our tax team will, and you don't meet them here, but they'll go back for 3 years. And a lot of our clients are getting $30,000, $40,000, $80,000 back in taxes because you either did them yourself or you thought somebody was great. And some of you that have had LLCs, I think, Dina Justice, you said you have a few. If you've had multiple corporations for a long time, and by the way, if you're just in California, it's time for you to get a Nevada company. And by the way, you say, well, I don't live in Nevada. Well, guess what? Scott has an office in Reno. I have an office right here in our state capital, Carson City, Nevada. You're going to use our address. And so we will be your address for you while you, especially now with all this internet and online opportunities, you actually, And you say, well, why, if I'm in California, do I have an entity? You'll talk to Scott. He'll tell you why. My point is, if you don't have a company, you don't have a legal right to deduct your kids. Your company can't hire your kids because you're not a company. All the strategies we're talking about are not available to you if you're not a company. So we need to get incorporated. By the way, you operate under your Social Security number. Your company has an EIN and tax identification number. So now it gets its own credit. So let's just say over time, you end up with an S Corp, an LLC, and a C Corp. And that's 4 kinds of credit you have. Like, who's taught you that before? Like, now you have 4 kinds of credit. You have your S Corp, your C Corp, your LLC. Eileen, why don't you share a little bit about, like, once you have available credit, and some of us that have been doing this for a long time have dozens of companies. So yes, that's dozens of corporate credit cards, dozens of corporate credits. So when you guys say you can't find money or you can't make money, you're doing it wrong. And some of you get that too. So Eileen, go.
That's one of the biggest things. An entrepreneur, they're just starting out their business and they're saying that I don't have the funds to do what I need to do, but you don't know how to go about getting those funds. Your personal credit is a very powerful tool for you to be able to now start to get the business credit as you are building your business. A couple of things that Scott and Loral just talked about, having this binder so that you have all of your documentation in hand. When you go to open up your business credit account for your new entity structure, you're going to need some of that documentation in order to do that. We want to make sure, and something else I want to add on to that, make sure that you're having the conversations with your strategist, because that's how you get to Scott. That's how you get to me and the other people that Loral will be introducing you to. We don't just put our information in the chat for you. Get with your strategist and have those conversations with them.
Well, and once you get in, I also got to say, those of you who haven't activated any SBAs, the PPP is over, right? The
PPP is done. They ran out of money.
But still, I mean, if you're a company, the woman you're seeing right there on the screen will help you get that kind of money, and it's still available. So, I mean, there's a lot that we're going to teach you how to do. And again, will not happen until you talk to your strategist. I mean, here's why. For some of you say, well, that's not fair. They're kind of like dangling these, experts as carrots. Well, first of all, I spent a lifetime building these amazing people who will fulfill in brilliance to you. And we all talk to each other. So if you have a credit issue, but Eileen knows you have a corporate issue, and we also know that you have a marketing issue, the screen you're looking at, all of us could get on a phone call with you. If
right.
you
and we have many times.
Well, independently, you know what I mean? And you need to add a lawyer and accountant to that call. It's going to be $1,000, $2,000 an hour call. And some of you, I'm going to say too, I want to say welcome back to some of you at the big table. You joined way before we made it Lifetime. We made it Lifetime in 2010, by the way. So if you, haven't come back, I mean, doors are wide open. We're waiting for you to come back and actually show up and, be part of this community, the brilliance that we can help you. And what we really want and what we're looking for, why we do it. People say, why do you still do all this teaching? Because I want more teammates. I want to see what other brilliant things you have that you can bring. Tonight, you're going to meet John Howard, no agenda, came to the table, wanted to have diverse assets. He's the guy that brought that Ford dealership we talk about. And I'm about to get my Ford Bronco. I cannot wait. Yep, one of the original brand new ones. Anyway, Eileen, anything else you want to say? Because money is so available to so many of you, and you just don't have enough people around you.
Yeah, it all starts with, it was mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about sequencing, how you're doing things in the right order, what you do first, then what to do in the next step. The very first thing y'all want to be doing is making sure that you're looking at your personal credit reports. We get them optimized so that when you start to build this business credit, because business credit is based on the personal owners of the company. And once you've established the business credit, you're good. You keep it, you maintain it within the business. But to get started with it, your personal credit reports have to be optimized. They have to be in peak conditions. Your credit scores need to be at a certain level. And we'll talk later about other ways for you to be able to get access to funding. The SBA loans is one of the biggest ones. So let's have that conversation.
Absolutely. And so we call this kind of the financial infrastructure team, right? So once you meet us, and yes, that we would become your resident agent, use our address. Depending on how you make money, it's a point of nexus. There's a whole conversation Scott will go through. But typically when you first walk into the community, you meet with Scott, you meet with Eileen, you meet with our tax team. You also meet with our the 401k and Roth IRA team. You do meet with Randy, because he's got a very elevated way that you can put money. It's not a savings account. It actually gets invested straight into the market right away. So super cool stuff where we can just reset your financial infrastructure all the way down to where you're banking. Now let's go make a bunch of money. So we just want to we always lead with this conversation because we know it's critical for you to get this piece reset and stable. Because here's what's going to happen. If you say, well, I'll do it later. I need to focus on making money right now. I'll do this part later. Then you're making money, you're in hyper growth or you're in growth. What are you going to do? Stop? Because here's the thing. If you do this as a sole proprietor, you're going to have to close all those bank accounts, close your merchant service accounts. You're losing all that history if you don't do it right now. Right? So waiting is a huge issue. And again, I mean, how many of you out there have been a solopreneur and you have not been incorporated because some ridiculously uneducated CPA or the internet told you not to, and you've been a 15-year solopreneur? I mean, you lost 15 years of financial history. You lost financial opportunity, credit. You put you and your family at risk for 15 years. It's a huge problem, huge problem. Anyway, let's, we're good on that. Thumbs up. Yes. Are we good? Like that. We really wanted to lay down that infrastructure to help you understand how critical this piece is. Now let's go shift and start making some money. There's one more slide. I know, Steve, that I want to put up. Just, we could probably, I should say not do this in the future, but it does give you, if you go to the next slide, just some statistics like how unbelievably devastating the statistics are. So few people, I don't care which, whether you're a baby boomer, I'm a Gen X, right? You're a millennial, you're going to be a Gen Z. I don't care which category you're in. Not enough people have money invested. Man, not saved. People have that little cliche. It's not the money you make, it's the money you save. No, it's the money you invest. And a lot of you aren't starting that compounding power of money. I mean, the goal is that the rule of 272 assumes that you're going to double your money every 7 years, right? So you have 100 now in 7 years is 200, 7 years, 200 becomes 400. Well, last I checked, you're already, way, way past what I'm promising you in Millionaire Maker. We got to do this shit a lot faster. We got to start doubling your money in about 3 to 4 years. We got to start moving. So a lot of you, we got to get that pattern broke and then reset for how you're going to be doing your investing. It's a lot of investing accounts aren't where we call them lazy assets. So these just give you some unbelievable statistics and why when you go to Walmart and Home Depot and some stores, you see 60, 70, 80-year-old people still working. Now, there's a difference because I'll probably work to the day I die, at least teach and do something to the day I die. I'm never just going to sit around, but I'll work differently. I'm already working very differently, and we'll be doing a lot of things. When your brain shuts down, your body shuts down. So wake up, people. All right, let's go to the next slide. And this is a fun slide because this kind of shows you the breadth that we teach. So once we get you making money and you keep money, right? Because now you met that team. These are all the conversations that we're going to teach you about. I mean, and what I want you to do is if you could just pick 3 conversations, and I want to share this with your strategists. I mean, do you want to automate your investing? Do you want franchises? Do you want cryptocurrency? Do you want, cannabis? Like what conversations? We are experts. We have experts in every one of these categories. Where do you want, right, to start a conversation? Because we have experts everywhere that we're going to teach you how to do all of this and keep you moving. Super excited to work with you all. All right, so that's just more of a, pacing forward. We call it future pacing question. What conversations do you want? And do you want to start really learning about? And so as you're making money, you have places to invest your money because you got to make those decisions together. And most people don't tell you that. They're like, make money, pay off debt. No, we'll get rid of your debt later. That's the least of my concerns. Make it, invest it, make it, invest it. That's the pattern we're going to reset in your life. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So to meet the team, again, I'm saying them again now that you've actually met Adam. Eileen will begin in a breakout room. Their strategists will be Brandon, Stacy. Kathy will be going between the rooms. The other room will have Thomas. Adam will be joining every once in a while over there as well, because we're just going to be really, I guess, covering you in our brilliance and the expertise we have on these teams. And then Laura and Zan will be out in that room as your strategist. You have to meet with your strategist to get the big swag bag at the end. So if you're joining late, now those of you who complete 2 sessions, do all of our content sessions and fill out a profile, you get our swag bag. And I'd say it's priceless, but for sure you're getting $1,000 real estate ticket and a bunch of content you can't get unless you're at the table. Super fun. I love those cannabis real estate entity structure. Perfect. All right. So here's what you're going to do with your strategist. We call it a profile. Go ahead. And
Well, hey, Laurel, before we move forward, let's sign off on the live stream and let people know they can call the office, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Those of you that are watching, hope you enjoyed that. I'm say re-education for those of you that have been watching, stalking us, stop stalking, stand forward and say, it's time. I got to work closer with your team and I got to get my financial life organized. Right. So again, call our office 775-588-9200. Molly will answer the phone and get you where you got to go. If any of this was interesting, let us know. So thanks, you guys.